The thing that stood out to me the most today was probably us discussing our outside interviews with each other, and I guess like also kind of discussing our like classmate interviews, but mostly the outside ones. It was really interesting to me, kind of just seeing who people chose, whether it be um, like their family members, their friends, and then like in their family members being their grandma or their sibling or even their parent. And it was interesting to me because it kind of showed like the patterns. Like when someone chose their sister, he was able to guess like what his sister would have said, like was going to say about these beliefs because he knew her so well. And then also it was kind of interesting to see how like people chose their family members either because they thought it was easy to talk to or because they kind of wanted to know more about it. Like someone chose their grandma because she was the nicest person they knew and be really willing to talk to them about this kind of stuff. It was also interesting for me because it kind of made me reflect on like why I chose my mom. Um, we talk about stuff a lot. We talk about like personal beliefs and stuff, but I never sat down and asked her like, "What are your moral foundations? What are your beliefs?" And this kind of project really gave me the chance to actually do that and actually learn something about it. Um, it was interesting to me because she's a hospice social worker, and I just started volunteering um, in hospice, partially to get back to community, and partially because I need like clinical hours for like med school applications. And it was kind of interesting to see how someone who's been in the field for a while really deals with like ethical choices and other things like that. It kind of gives me more of a perspective when I go into volunteering. And then also it was kind of cool, like overall, kind of seeing the patterns, like when people had the person who had, I think it was her mom, do the uh, exam, like the survey that we had to do. She kind of had the same issues with like the things being too limited, or other people kind of felt that their like interviewees were a little too like also believed that the terms that they had were like limited. That's something that we saw in class, and I thought that was kind of interesting. That was kind of an overarching thing. And then kind of like to go back to what you said in the beginning of the class, kind of after like the first this was brought up, that it kind of makes sense because you have to engage people like in a wide area. And so doing so, you have to choose like really like you have to make a short survey because otherwise no one's going to do like 1,000 question survey like you said. And so kind of really honing in exactly is what Height did. And it makes sense like when you think about it that way. That's not something that I really thought of before. I was just kind of like Height just like really zoned like honed in on exactly what he thought. He didn't really consider what other people thought. And I really thought that like this whole discussion that we had like over the Saints bringing in small groups is really helpful. It really let us like think more about it, like other than like just doing the project and then just being done with it. It was kind of like another thing that we had to do that really encouraged us to critically think and re-examine what we did. And it was cool to see how many people actually really enjoyed doing this and like talking to their family members or their friends about this, and they learned something new about it. Like I know I learned something new about like it, like how my mom acts when it comes to like her ethics and beliefs as a social worker. And it really kind of not made me grow closer, but let me like see new things that I hadn't seen from her before.